My name is Brant Hunt. My channel simply is Discerning What is True. We've been going through this particular book from a gentleman, his last name being Halebe. It's Zeb bin Shimon Heble. The name of the book is simply called Exodus and Kabbalah. The name of the chapter is chapter 29, which is Creation and Spirit. So thank you for being here. Today is the third day of February 2026. Simply is this chapter simply called Creation and Spirit. Again, it's based upon Exodus chapter 25. After the ark comes the description of how to make the table of the showbread. This is to be constructed of shittim, S-H-I-T-T-I-M, wood, which is then encased in pure gold. Like the ark, it is to have a crowned border. The table is to be set on the north side of the tabernacle. Upon it is to be placed 12 cakes or loaves of bread baked of fine, F-I-N-E, flour, and these are to be left there for a week in the presence of God. After that, they are to be taken by the priestess and eaten in a holy place, while 12 more fresh loaves are to be set in their place on the table. Also to be made with the table are a set of utensils to be used to prepare the sacred meal. This meal has two levels. It speaks of the substance given to all creatures who dine at creation's royal table, and of the divine host who provides everything. Thus, while the showbread comes from the earth, the vessels of gold are never to be filled with any earthly produce, as they are regarded as the heavenly contributions to the repast. The Leviticus setting out of the table may be seen as man's offering to God, who we are told takes pleasure in the services provided by the priestly representatives, I should say, of mankind. The next object to be discussed with the menorah, or what we call menorah, or 7-branched candlestick. That's interesting, 7 branches. That's key. This was to stand opposite the table of the showbread in the south side. It was to be constructed of pure gold and beaten out of one piece. In other words, nothing becomes apart. It's all in one piece. So that reveals the unity of God. Even more than that, it doesn't represent any fracture of God. In other words, God is unity. He's not divided. So let's go ahead and look at the menorah, because this is kind of key also to represent something here. So on the extreme left-hand side, there's 7 things. There's one branch of the particular menorah. And at the very end of what we call the left is called Hod, H-O-D. The next one is called Jerah, which is the next one to the side, moving to the center. And the next one becomes shorter and shorter here. The Manah is the last one on the left-hand side. Okay. The middle is the Keter, which is the crown. Hodamon is to the right. To the next right would be Hesed, and to the extreme far right is called Nezar. Now, in between these two is called, which is between the shortest part of the menorah, the first 2 wings, so to speak, the closest to the pillar, is called Emanation. The next one lower is called Creation. And with that, the last one, that is the bottom part rung, as this represents a semicircle, is formation. On one side, that is on the left, is representing elements. On the right side is representing action. At the first, what we call the knot, where is again in the middle part of the menorah, is called Da. Okay, so this is similar to what we're showing the other things here as we've been speaking of. We also have in the next step down, which is again the Tipharel, and to the bottom here, that is the bottom part, not the bottom essentially, but the bottom part of this particular candlestick is Yesod. And remember, on the right-hand side, we're speaking of elements, and on the left-hand side, on the left-hand side is elements, and the right-hand side is action. Then we have what I call a little index that basically comes to a three-prong deal, and this is the Maku. Okay. And it's beaten out of a single piece of untarnishable gold to represent the purity of eternal unity. So that's what it represents, unity. The seven branded or branched candle stand is a symbol of the 10 divine attributes, with those of mercy on the right, and those of justice on the left, and those of grace in the center. The menorah also embodies the 22 paths in its decoration. Divine mercy, justice, and grace are again symbolized in the tripod, or what I call the tripod, of the bottom of the stand. The four worlds are also included in the design. And let's see where we're at here. So let's see, out of one piece, that is, it has to be one piece, like I said earlier. Its form was to be central shaft with three arms on either side. So that's, you have three here, like three fingers here I have, and three fingers on this other side. Okay, that's how it kind of represents. But the closest one to it is going to be a short deal, and it does get longer, and then one on the outside is going to be much longer, goes all the way to the bottom, so to speak. Thus making 7 candle holders in all. Correct. Again, 7. Its decorations were to contain 22 elements. Okay, so that represents not only the letters of the alphabet for the Hebrew language, but also represents the 22 ways we have in the cards, tarot cards, that is, and then also the 22 chapters in the book of Revelation. They're all there for a purpose, you see. Its decorations were to contain 22 elements, so we did that, so that it became not only a beautiful ritual implement, but a metaphysical design or diagram of the laws of existence. This is seen in the following way. The central light is the crown of grace, with merciful or active lights on the right wing of the lamp standard, and the severe or passive lights on the left, which is based upon this figure. The 3 joining points of the arms on the central shaft of equilibrium are the places of knowledge, beauty, and foundation, with the tripod based as its kingdom. The 22 specific decorations correspond to the 22 paths of the tree that connect to Sephiroth. The scriptures, that is Exodus 26:30, is absolutely insistent that the design revealed upon the mountain shall not be deviated from. There must be no human distortion of this precise model of the teachings. So there cannot be any kind of messed up, or whatever you want to call it. It has to be perfection, which it has to be who God is, perfection. When the table of the showbread and the candelabra are placed together, they form a unit. The lamp throwing light upon the sacred meal that is to be set before the veil of the ark, A-R-K. Seen Kabbalastically, that is, these 2 symbols may be regarded as the 2 lowest side Sephiroth of the divine tree, and simultaneously as the 2 uppermost side Sephiroth of the spiritual world. The table on the right is the active giving of substance, and the lamp on the left, the formulation of the tradition. These qualities and functions apply to the divine Nezah, Nezah, and Hod, Hod, and the creative Hokamon and the Banah. Between and beyond them is the mercy seat, which completes the triad that places the throne of heaven below the divine man of Ezekiel's vision. The inner meaning for the individual of these sacred objects is they represent the correspondence levels of a person. The ark is that part of ourselves in which the divine dwells unseen and often unknown. It is the place where our spirit comes before the Holy One within. While the table and lamp symbolize the hidden springs of spiritual substance and support, however, they, like the ark at this point in the scriptures, are yet to be realized. This stage has not been reached because yet there is no firm psychological organism or stable physical discipline to manifest these spiritual principles in form and immateriality. The design and construction of the tabernacle and the surrounding court, which represents the lowest part of creation, all of formation, and the upper parts in the realm of action, symbolizes the spiritual, the psychological, and physical vehicles to be developed within the individual. So what they're showing simply here is that these things need to take place in your life. You know that we are a physical vehicle, so there must be action, is what it's speaking of, and those actions must take place in a psychological realm and also in a spiritual realm. And I'm sure it also we have to have knowledge. I don't know why that might be based upon what we call the physical. Because the knowledge, in order to do this, you act. It's like a three-pronged deal here. The situation being described for the individual is that the higher developed part of him that is embodied by Moses is under the process of deep instruction. However, there is as yet no connection between the upper and lower levels of consciousness. There is theory, but no application. Revelation, but no comprehension. Direct knowledge is present, but as yet no way of bringing it into ordinary life. The elders of the upper psyche, up here, wait below, but out of sight, and the Israelites of the lower psyche remain far away at the foot of the mount. So this is the whole revealing again. The Israelites are basically, they're not connected yet. They're far away from the mountain, so to speak. Okay, that's what the symbolism is here. Also, the mount. Only Moses is allowed to go up to the mountain because he's apparently has done the great work, you see, in his life. But there is no one else has done that as far as I know of. Now we'll see that maybe there's a possibility of the other priests, but they're not at the top. Okay. So Moses is a representation of what has happened within him. No one else in the whole group here has done all that he's done, and that's why he's leading them spiritually. The marriage between the worlds has yet to be accomplished. This is set out symbolically in the next sequel, or sequence, I should say. So it does show some things here of what we call just the way the table is set up. Okay, whole idea of what we call the temple. Okay, so you have so first of all, the gate is located on the eastern side. Okay, that's key. Okay, and there are 50 cubits between to the next part, what we call the gates on the north and south, and then the other gate is at the western end. All of 50 cubits there, and then the north and south side represent 100 cubits. Okay, so when you come there, this is just it's not physical. Somewhat, this is a representation of it. So this says in the scheme of the tabernacle is a description of the various levels of existence. Beginning with the ark, the divine makes contact with upper creation in the Holy of Holies. Outside the veil, that is the sanctuary, as lower creation links with upper formation. while the screen represents, or I should say separates, I should say, the two inner chambers of soul and spirit from the lower parts of the psyche and body, represented by the court and beyond. The measurements and furniture adds the fine detail. So you have a complete wall, so to speak, all the way around this particular type of deal, okay? Temple. And then you have the entrance, the gate, the only gate is through the east, just like the three Magi's who came from the east. And then you have what we call the upper action, and then you go into what they call an altar. So there's an altar there first before you do anything else. And then what you do is what they call a court, the next section. And then you have what they call a lavar, what they call a lower, no, lavar, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the words here, L-A-V-E-R. So there's a section between that before you go into the screen, before you go into what we call the sanctuary. And in the sanctuary here, there's going to be a screen, like I said, you come into, and there'll be what they call the upper formation. And then inside that is a sanctuary. So I didn't spell out this part. So this actually, this whole area of the sanctuary is only 10 cubits wide. Okay. And then you have what we call just entering the sanctuary is separated, there's the elongated way from, from east and west. It's 30 cubits long. So the first 20 cubits are represented by the sanctuary, the lower creation, the candlesticks, which is the candle, menorah, and you have a table, and you have an incense. And then there's what they call a veil separating the two, separating the 20 cubits parts and then the 10 cubits parts. And then when the veil's there is what we call the Holy of Holies, and you have what they call an upper creation within this 10 cubit deal, which is 10 cubits square. And then you go to the lower divine. This is where the ark is. All this is there. And it's what I understand at this point simply is the priests are in, they have to provide sacrifice before they can go into the upper part of this, you see. So I'll say this one more time. The tabernacle plan, the scheme of the tabernacle is a description of the various levels of existence, beginning with the ark. The divine makes contact with upper creation, the Holy of Holies. So where's the Holy of Holies? Well, the Holy of Holies is up here in your head. You see, this is just a manifestation in some ways of what should take place within yourself. You see. Outside the veil, the sanctuary. So this is a different area, so to speak. It's not considered the Holy of Holies as lower creation. And we would say probably the Holy of Holies basically is representing God in a way. But no one just can walk in there. You just can't walk in and, that doesn't work that way, you see. So at lower creation links with upper formation, while the screen separates the two lower chambers of soul and spirit from the lower parts of the psyche and body. So this is representing the psyche and the body, and it represents by the court and beyond. So again, this is a manifestation of the body. I think you can understand that. The measurements and the furniture add the fine details in here. So that is the end of chapter 29 tonight. Just wanted to share this with you tonight. Appreciate you being here. That's going to be it. This is again called Creation and Spirit, chapter 29 from the book of Exodus and Kabbalah. And the authors is Halevi, Halevi. And thank you for being here, and have a good evening. Take care.